And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Balkan versus Balkan. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Shawana Balkan is suing her father, machine operator Bruce Balkan, for unpaid credit card charges. Bruce claims he has no idea what she's talking about.
Miss Balkan, the defendant is your father, and it is your claim that your father used your credit card.
Yes.
And he used your credit card up to $5,000. You want him to pay off that credit card bill.
Yes, I do.
Your father says that he doesn't know where you got this figure of $5,000 from, that the only charge he put on your credit card was a wedding dress because he was getting married. You volunteered to buy the wedding dress, but then he paid you back for it. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
When did you go to live with your father?
After my 20th birthday in February of 2000.
And where had you been living?
In New York.
And where's your father live, in Savannah?
Yes.
Who were you living with in New York?
With my mother.
And tell me why you gave your father a credit card.
Well, after the wedding, he had fell behind on a couple of bills, and being that he was my father, I helped him.
How did you help him?
I let him use my credit card so he could pay some of the bills that he owed that he fell behind on after the wedding.
Show me.
Sure.
Did you give him the credit card?
Yes, I did. As you can see, that it's more than just bills that the card was used for.
Well, this says there's a balance of $1,500. Why are you suing him for $5,000?
Well, with the charges, over the limit fees, interest, it grew much more than $1,500. I was making all the payments on charges that I did not make.
But I see that there are some purchases that were made, purchases, cash advances.
Yes, those was from my father.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Let me start off saying that I love my daughter, okay? I'm proud of her that, you know, she finished school out there in Queens, New York, where it's rough. That's why I thought it'd be the best idea for her to come out and stay with me. I thought she was gonna keep it real with this, but I just...
What?
I thought she was gonna keep this real because I have no idea what this is about, okay? Now, first of all, I never had no credit card in my hand. I don't know if she's talking about that.
He's lying.
There's a charge here for a nail salon for $89.
That was made by his wife. And he did use my credit card, Your Honor. I'll be at work, he'll call me at my job and let me know that he needed to use it, and he'll go and use it. I don't understand why he's saying that he never had my card in his hand, because that's not true.
There's a charge here for City Hall deposit account. What is that?
You have to ask him.
What is that?
I have no idea. I mean, if you use a credit card, don't you have to sign something? I mean, that
Yeah,
should
you
be
should
able,
have the receipts.
Well, that should be self-explanatory then. Anything I had should have my name on it.
His wife signed it, signed my name actually.
This is enough.
I didn't sign for anything.
Ms. Balkan, it is absolutely impossible for me to make a judgment based upon the evidence that you present to me, whether your father had your credit card or he didn't. Because when you get these things, it is possible to get the signed receipts from the credit card. Then you have somebody's signature. He says he didn't make any of these charges. You say he made these charges. The only way to figure that out is if you have the receipts.
I would be able to show you that, Your Honor, but all of those receipts are in his possession because I left Savannah and I didn't take any of those things with me. I just took the clothes that I had and left.
I don't have them. I have to be able to see them, Ms. Balkan. Do you understand?
I understand.
Fine.
I wouldn't come in front of you and lie about something like this. He really damaged me a whole lot behind this, and I'm in debt.
What made you wait to 2 years?
Your Honor, I tried to pay the bill myself.
Why?
Because I didn't want to take it this far to where I had to bring my father to court.
Just a second. Did you write him a letter? Did you write him an email? Did you say to him, what are you going to do about these bills over the last? Do you have copies of those?
No, I didn't. It was verbal. I talked to him over the phone. I talked to him face to face. I told him that I need these bills to be paid. At the time, he said that he didn't have the money, and then it just came to the point where he said he's not paying them, and I told him I would take him to court, and he said, do what I have to do. That's why I'm here.
That sound familiar to you, sir?
No, we did have a conversation about her bills and stuff like that, and first of all, the thing with the wedding dress, I just found out that it's not on this credit card she's talking about. It's a whole nother different credit card.
It's not. He's right.
Okay, so the wedding dress thing now, that's why I was so, I couldn't understand what she was suing me about. Because the only thing I really remember was the wedding dress that we had. And I really thought that should have been paid off already. Because while she was staying with me, I just asked her to help chip in for little bills. And then she was kind of upset about that. So I told her, well, look, instead of paying me the bills, just take the money you're supposed to pay me and put it towards your credit card.
Daddy, we did not come to that agreement until months and months and months after I tried to get you to pay that bill.
When did you take the credit card back from your father?
I never had it. I'm sorry.
When he told me he wasn't paying the bill anymore, I took it back.
Well, when was that?
This was, I say, about 3 or 4 months after I let him use it. I say he got married in July. I say by December, January. I gave him plenty of time to try to pay for it. He did not do that. I took it back and I left.
Just a second. It is absolutely impossible with the evidence that you bring to me, Ms. Balkin, to make a judgment whether your father used your credit card. The only way to do that is to have signed receipts. You can get those from the credit card company. You have to write to them. Now, what do you want to do? You want to do that?
I guess I have to.
Yes, you have to do that. So I'm going to dismiss your case without prejudice. You have leave to refile it when you get those receipts. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
I'm sorry it turned out the way it did.
Can't believe it.
I was here to tell the truth.
You know he used my credit card and you're going to sit there and act like he didn't do it.
I love my daughter. I'm not here to hurt her.
He said that he wasn't paying it and whatever I had to do, I had to do.
I just hope that we can still have a good relationship after this.
A lot of things she said about her father, it wasn't true.
I'm here for my daughter as long as she needs me.
I can't believe you did this to me.
I did what you used.
You know you used it. I can't believe this.
Shawana, you never put your card in my hand. You know it now. Let's be real
Daddy,
about this. Let's be real.
Please, go ahead.
I never had your credit card, Shawana. You know that.
I can't believe you did this to me.
Listen.
I have nothing to say.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Poulter versus Miller. Step forward, please.
53-year-old truck driver Craig Poulter is suing his ex-girlfriend, 28-year-old purchasing agent Heidi Miller, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Heidi says Craig bought the car as a gift.
Mr. Poulter, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $3,000 some odd so that you could purchase a car.
Yes.
The defendant says it was never a loan, never intended to be a loan. What was your relationship to the defendant?
Well, Heidi and I had met in about June of 2000, and shortly thereafter started dating and ended up in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And during the course of that relationship, which lasted about a year and a half, Heidi had mentioned that the vehicle she was driving at the time was being too costly for her to afford. We discussed the situation and came up with an idea that at the right time, when the right car came along, to purchase a different vehicle, and then she would be able to get rid of the one that she really couldn't afford owning.
Was it a leased car that you had?
Yes.
It's a lease?
Yes.
And how much was the lease?
$369 a month.
So does that sound right so far?
Yep, pretty much.
Okay, go ahead.
So it was the 25th of June 2001, and we spotted a nice-looking used car for sale by private owner. We decided to stop and take a look at this vehicle, knowing that she would sooner than later be getting rid of the Blazer. When we came back from the test ride, I told her that if we can make the right deal with the gentleman for the right amount of money, I think it would be a good car for her to have.
Okay.
And at that time, I said, as far as paying me back for the car, we can work that out later. Let's first take care of what's important, is to get you a car.
Are you telling me that you had a discussion with her at that point about paying you back the money?
There was some short discussion about it. It wasn't a real long conversation.
I mean, it might sound right. It sounds right to me that you might say, listen, if we can make a good deal on this car, let's do it. But it doesn't sit right with me that you would say at that moment, and then we'll talk about paying me back, you know, later. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay.
But there was some mention of that getting a payment plan set up down the road or something, but I don't remember exactly
at that moment. I'm talking about at that moment.
Yes.
All right. I'm not sure if I believe that. Go ahead. So what happened? So you went and you made a deal with the man?
Yes.
You did alone?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wrote a personal check for the car, and I have a copy and
I'd like to see it.
of that signed cash check.
Okay. And then she took possession of the car. You registered it in your name?
Yes.
And when did you turn back the leased car?
It was shortly after that because I had to, I took a loss on this Blazer that I had, and so what I had to do is I had to finance $5,000 for the loss on a Blazer that I no longer have, and actually I'm still paying for it. So once I sold that, which was actually probably about a month or two after he had bought the car for me.
Okay.
So
Now, when did you and the defendant end your relationship?
It was towards the end of 2001.
Between June, when you purchased the car, and December, did she make any payments to you?
No.
Did you have any discussions about it?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. As a matter of fact, I have two separate emails from 2 separate days where I had mentioned to her by email about wanting repayment, and
I'd like
her
to see.
replies are on my emails. Your Honor, my comments are highlighted in blue and hers are in yellow.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Craig Poulter says ex-girlfriend Heidi Miller owes for a loan to buy a car. Heidi says Craig has been harassing her.
Would you show this to the defendant, please?
okay.
Ms. Miller, those emails, especially yours, don't seem consistent with your defense, which is that this car was a gift.
The reason, if I said those things, because I don't remember, it was such a long time ago.
It's not so long ago in the
Well,
scheme of things.
But I said this basically said those emails to appease this man. He's very controlling of me. I had to get a restraining order against him after all this whole thing. It was just to get him to back off
Just a
bit
second.
on
These were in September. You didn't
Right.
break up with him until later on in the year.
Actually, we broke up in September. It was such an on and off relationship.
Well, then it was back on again.
No, it was not.
Well, you want to go on and continue then and tell me about these emails that you sent, which seem to indicate that he was telling you, don't worry about getting a part-time job to start to pay me back. Because you said, I'll get a part-time job and pay you back. He said the most important thing is that you get a good full-time job,
Which I
and then you
have.
can start paying me back. And you say, I'm really stubborn, I know I want to pay you back, and I'm going to pay you back. You say that on 2 separate occasions.
Just to appease him, because he was harassing me with phone calls and with different emails that I don't keep every single email that is sent to me. I'm sorry that I don't. But if I could, you know, I have the emails when I had gotten the order of protection, and
Let's get to the money.
I don't owe him for it. It was a gift. At the time of when we purchased the car, we never talked about anything about that I was going to repay him or anything.
Your Honor.
He went and took for a test drive. I had nothing to do with the car.
Okay.
He came back to me and said, this is a good car for you.
Okay.
Your Honor, I also have an audio tape recording that I made of a conversation between Ms. Miller and I. We have queued up one of the most important parts of the tape.
I'll hear it.
Thank you.
Well, you do know you owe the money.
Yeah?
What are we going to do, Heidi?
I don't know.
I can't believe in all this time you haven't been able to send any money at all.
Exactly, me either. Things are tight.
Okay, plain and simple, Heidi. What is the next step?
I don't know.
I asked her point blank on the conversation, and it's in this tape. I said, Heidi, are you trying to say that you don't owe me the money for the car? And she very frankly answers, no, I know I owe you.
No, it's clear to me, sir,
Okay.
that she owes you for the car.
It was just miscued.
It's clear to me that she owes you for the
Thank
car.
you.
She acknowledges on the tape she owes you for the
And
car.
I
She
also
acknowledges
have-
in the email she owes you for the car.
Right, and I have my
Only
daughter
today
as a
she
witness.
says she doesn't owe you for the car.
No, that's...
Only today. Now, if you had $369 of car payments for a Blazer that you couldn't afford, and if you gave him $100 a month, which would cut your expenses substantially, then you could pay the car off in 30 months and you wouldn't have a problem. Or if you gave him $50 a month, but you gave him nothing.
Well, I had to pay for that Blazer loan, that $5,000 loss.
Whose fault is that? Is that his fault?
Yes, because he told me that was the best thing for me to do, was to get rid of that Blazer.
Hey, listen.
That's what he told me to do.
You look like a very strong, strapping girl, and there is absolutely no reason why you let somebody else make decisions for you. Sounds to me as if you made your own decision to lease a Blazer. You could have leased a car that you could buy or lease for $150 a month. You decided to rent a
to lease a big
I
one.
was married when I rented that lease.
Who cares? That's not his fault either. In any event, he was trying to be helpful. He expected repayment. You broke up with him. I don't know why. I'm not interested. You owe him $3,075. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, are excused. You may step out.
Why would someone that you're not in a relationship continue to send you gifts?
There was nothing harassing.
We ended the relationship in September. He continued to send me flowers every single month.
Even the judge at the restraining order hearing told me he agreed there was nothing threatening.
He is just a controlling man.
Only in regards to the money that she owed me.
25-year-old auto painter Mike Lewis is suing his former friend, 21-year-old bartender Mary Goodman, for having him falsely arrested for grand theft auto. Mary says Mike left her no other choice.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 71 on the calendar in the matter of Lewis versus Goodman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Lewis, it is your claim that the defendant filed a false police report about you causing your arrest. You spent, according to what I read, about 16 days in jail as a result of that arrest. Is that right?
Correct.
And you want to be compensated.
Correct.
Tell me how this all started.
Well, it originally started when I met her. I was chatting with her over the internet. Came to be that I wound up moving to the city where she was from because I was offered a job there. She was married at the time. I decided to meet her. Her husband was supposed to come with us, but he didn't show up, so we just became friends. My roommate that I was living with at the time had started dating her friend.
Don't give me all this social relationships. I'm really not interested. Cut to the chase. You met her on the internet. You moved to where she was living.
Right.
You became friends.
Right. Okay. Then it came to a point where I needed a vehicle. My friend, Vinny here, owns a car lot in Daytona Beach. I called him up and told him I needed a vehicle. I told him that I didn't want the vehicle in my name.
Why not?
Because I had did a deposition for him in his divorce trial. And his wife, being the one that he's divorcing, works at the car lot also. If she'd have saw the title in my name, knowing that I did the deposition, you know, for him, that would have looked kind of fishy, as if like he was trying to bribe me or something. Right. So, and I was, you know, paying him for the vehicle, and so we didn't want it to look like he was just bribing me with the vehicle. So Mary had agreed to put it in her name, and she had the insurance policy to put it on there with, so we did that. Okay.
So your friend, your new friend, agreed to put the car in her name.
Correct.
But she wasn't paying for the car.
Correct. Until I paid off. I was going to pay him $1,200 for the vehicle, and then once it got paid off, then it was going to be switched over to my name. So.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Then I had it for roughly a month or so, and I decided to move back to Panama City where my kids live. And whenever I walked out of my house, probably 4 or 5 days after I was back into town, the vehicle was gone. The truck
You mean
was
you
gone.
moved back to Panama City?
Correct.
And when you walked out one day, there was no car?
It was just gone, right.
Okay.
So I called the police department and told them, you know, I need to check to see if it's been towed. So they said, we don't have any record of that. I said, well, I need to report it stolen then. So the police department came out. The cop got there and he asked for my ID and I handed it to him. And immediately after handing it to him, he put me in handcuffs and told me I was being arrested for stealing the vehicle. And I was just shocked. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what was going on. Then, you know, I get to the police department and they told me that it was out of Polk County, which was where she's from, and that she had, you know, signed a statement saying that I stole the vehicle from her. So.
Okay. And it was a result of that report that you were arrested and incarcerated?
Correct.
You had no other outstanding warrants or anything else? So it was based solely on the report that she made?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of that police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Okay, I'll hear you.
Your Honor, when I did all this for Mike, I did it as a friend, and Mike
You mean
was
allowing the car to be put in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
He was not making the payments on the vehicle because when he went home for Thanksgiving, Vinny's wife had the truck repossessed from his mother's house. I guess he paid Vinny some money and got the truck back and then came back to Polk County where I live. Didn't want to pay me the money for the insurance, so I told him, I said, then you're not going to take this truck. You're not driving around in a truck.
So he was supposed to give you money for insurance?
Yes, ma'am. He was supposed to pay for the insurance.
Okay.
I said, you're not going to drive around in a truck with no insurance that's in my name. You know, if he would have gotten in an accident, it would have been me, you know, myself on the line. And I later found out that he didn't even have a driver's license at the time. That's the reason that I went ahead and filed the police report. Before I filed the police report, because I told him, I said, leave the truck with me. If you're not going to pay for the insurance, you're not taking it.
Did you have that conversation?
No, the conversation was that her husband had found out that she had put the insurance in her on the policy or whatever for the truck, and that he canceled the policy. So I told her, I said, the most I owe you is a month's insurance, not the whole premium, which was like $200 and some odd. And I said, I'm not going to pay you the whole premium.
It was $600 for 6 months.
Or whatever it was. I said, the most I owe you is a month. And I said, and not one point, not at one time did she say, do not take the truck.
Yes,
now,
I did.
my roommate was there at the time, and he was saying, don't take the truck. But the reason why he was saying it was because that was his only means of transportation, was me and him riding together, and he didn't want me to take it. He wanted to keep it there.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Lewis. At the time that you took the truck, did you have insurance?
I don't know, to be honest with you, because I had the insurance card.
Well, if you just a second. If you don't know whether you had insurance, then you didn't have insurance. If you don't know, then you don't have it. Now, at the time that you took the truck, did you have a valid driver's license?
I didn't know it wasn't valid at the time. I really didn't. I didn't know that until I got to put in jail for it. Not for that, but for this. I didn't know that I had...
What was the reason that you didn't have a valid driver's license, Mr. Lewis?
I was in a motorcycle accident the year before, and I didn't work for 8 months, and I got a ticket for the motorcycle accident, and I wasn't able to pay the ticket, and that's what suspended my license.
That's baloney.
No, that's very true.
There's something more to that.
No, that is the God's honest truth.
When you had the motorcycle accident, was there any alcohol involved?
No, ma'am.
So you didn't pay one ticket and they suspended your license?
Well, there was actually 3 tickets. There was 3 tickets total.
So you were irresponsible in not paying for the ticket. Is that right, Mr. Lewis?
No, it was either paying my child support or paying my tickets. And if my child support didn't get paid, I would have been put in jail. So whenever I was getting unemployment from a motorcycle accident, I either had to pay my child support or pay these tickets.
How much were the tickets, Mr. Lewis?
A total of $600 and some odd.
And what were the tickets for, Mr. Lewis?
One was for no motorcycle endorsement. One was for...
Just a second. What does that mean, no motorcycle endorsement?
In Florida, you have to have, if you ride a motorcycle, you have to have a endorsement for riding a motorcycle.
What is an endorsement, Mr. Lewis? Let's talk English.
As far as I know, it's just a class that you take to say that you're qualified to ride a motorcycle.
So you didn't take a class in order to ride a motorcycle. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct. I was just simply going on a joyride around the block with somebody,
Mr.
so it
Lewis,
wasn't that I owned a motorcycle.
Mr. Lewis, all right. So you got a ticket because you did the wrong thing by riding a motorcycle without having a proper endorsement.
Correct.
What was the second ticket for, Mr. Lewis?
Improper turn, I think is what it was, or improper something. I'm not sure what it was. It was because when I turned onto the road, I had lost control of the bike, and a truck hit me, and I went into oncoming traffic. So
and what was the third ticket for, Mr. Lewis?
For... I think they call it careless driving because of that. So it's either careless driving or reckless driving. I couldn't remember what they said it was. So.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You did not pay her for the insurance.
Correct.
You did not have your own insurance policy.
No.
You did not have a valid driver's license.
But I didn't know that.
You didn't know a lot of things.
And later today,
She took some property of yours.
A blouse, some art pads, and I had some Disney books.
Are we talking about nonsense? Are we talking nonsense?
I suppose so.
All right. I don't want to talk about a blouse. I don't have time for a blouse.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mike Lewis says former friend Mary Goodman had him falsely arrested for grand theft auto.
So let me understand this, Mr. Lewis. You were driving a car that was not in your name, that you had put in her name because of some problem that you had with a deposition.
No, it wasn't a problem.
That's the story you're telling me now. So you had the car put in her name. You were supposed to pay her directly for the insurance.
Right.
And you did not pay her.
Not for that month, correct.
You did not pay her for the insurance.
Correct.
You did not have your own insurance policy.
No.
You did not have a valid driver's license.
I did when I started.
You did not have a
Not at the
valid
time.
driver's
Not at the
license.
time. But I didn't know that.
Whether you knew it or not, you didn't know a lot of things. And you knew that you should not be driving the car because your roommate told you, don't take the car because you don't have insurance.
Well, see, the reason why
Your roommate told you, don't take the car because you don't have insurance.
Correct, but I also thought that the reason why he was saying that was because he wanted it to stay there because he would have had no way to work. That's why
That's why you thought he was saying that.
Correct.
But the truth is, you didn't have insurance.
To be honest with you, I don't know because it was in her name.
Well, to be honest with you, Mr. Lewis, I was thoroughly prepared to rule in your favor reading the papers, because according to the papers, it appeared to me that Miss Goodman was being vindictive when she filed a false police report indicating, I'm speaking, indicating that you had stolen the car. But what she said was, in her affidavit, is that you took the car without permission. The car was in her name. You had been using the car, and she told you not to use the car because there was no insurance. You say no, she says she told you. If she didn't tell you, your roommate told you don't take the car because you don't have insurance. Now, what do you think would have happened? Do you own a home?
No, ma'am. I live with a roommate.
Do you have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a bank account?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what can happen, Mr. Lewis, is if you get into another accident because you are A, making a wrong turn, or B, driving recklessly like you did with your motorcycle, you don't lose anything.
Wrong. The motorcycle that
She loses, I'm speaking, she loses everything. You had no driver's license, you have no insurance, but the car is titled in her name, which means she is responsible. Her bank account is responsible, her automobile is responsible, and everything she had could be tossed to go to pay if you have another accident in an uninsured motor vehicle that's in her name. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, but...
Good, your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They arrested me and took me to jail for stealing the vehicle.
He was responsible for paying for the insurance and for paying for the truck.
I wound up spending 2 weeks in jail because of this.
I didn't want things to come to the point they came to where he had to be arrested to begin with.
I spent a week or 2 weeks in jail, and I missed a whole week with my kids for Christmas that year.
He did miss time with his children, which I feel bad about.
If she didn't think I should have the vehicle, she should have went to a civil court.
Mike and I were good friends, and I did tell him not to take the truck.
Not once did that ever come out of her mouth, not once.
Do for yourself. Don't try to do any favors for others.
Pick better friends.
21-year-old customer service manager Ryan Sells is suing his co-worker, 18-year-old inventory clerk Kristen Ballou, for having him falsely arrested for a sexual assault. Kristen says Ryan fondled her at work.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Sells versus Ballou. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Sells, it is your claim that the defendant filed false charges of sexual assault against you, and ultimately those charges were dismissed. I assume they were dismissed after a trial, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to be compensated?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
The defendant is an employee that I work with. I am her supervisor.
And how long have you worked together?
I believe about a year.
Now, according to your complaint, something happened with the defendant's boyfriend that sort of precipitated all of this. You want to tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. Beginning in February, Mr. Alphen, the defendant's boyfriend, began leaving threatening notes on my car. I reported them to the police. The first time they said it could be just a mistake, so they wanted to let it go. If it happened again, to come see them. So I did. It happened again in March. I got another threatening note. I had the police come down.
Do you have those notes?
I do have part of one. It was raining outside, so it got pretty destroyed. The other one is at the police station as evidence, so I'm going to give this to the judge, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry.
I love when they tell me my job.
Okay. How many notes in total did the defendant's boyfriend leave on your car?
I received 2. After the second one, I went to the police again, and they came to my place of employment. We watched the surveillance tapes to discover that it was Mr. Alphen.
You didn't know who it was at the time?
Not until I saw the surveillance tapes.
Go ahead.
When they found out who it was, they asked me what I wanted to do about it, and I said I would like to file a complaint. I filed a complaint on the 23rd, and they said they were going to talk to him or have him arrested because he had admitted to it because they had talked to him previously. He was arrested, and then an hour after he was arrested, Miss Ballou went to the police and told them that I had sexually assaulted her between the dates of March 1st through March 4th. She couldn't remember when. However, on the citation when I was arrested, she narrowed it down to March 4th at 12:30 p.m.
Do you have those complaints?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Also, on the time that she claims it occurred, Ms. Ballou claims it occurred at 12:30 p.m. March 4th. However, I have coinciding records that show Ms. Ballou did not clock in for work until 12:57 that day. There would be no possible way in that 27 minutes I could do an override or a supervisor function for her if she had not even gotten a register yet or been at work.
So what happened when you were arrested, Mr. Sells? You were arrested, ultimately, I assume you had to hire a lawyer, you were given
Yes,
a lawyer?
I did.
You hired a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
What happened with the boyfriend's case?
We were both given the date of May 2nd. However, I moved it up to 4/18 because I felt I wanted to get it over with. The situation was bad enough. I didn't need to let it drag out. Mr. Alphen pleaded guilty to harassment and was given a year's probation, the same date that my trial was.
What happened at the end of the trial?
My lawyer kept pushing that we had surveillance tapes and videotapes that had to be shown if they wanted to prove, you know, for beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was not guilty. The judge didn't want to watch the tapes, so he appointed the prosecutor and my attorney to watch the tapes. They watched the tapes. A few days later, the judge ruled not guilty.
Did the prosecutor agree that that was...
Yes,
move
yes,
to
he agreed.
dismiss the charges?
Yes, the judge, the prosecutor, and my lawyer were all together in it.
Okay. Now, I've read in your complaint, sir, that you had had a conversation with Miss Ballou, either you or your lawyer, prior to the date set for both her boyfriend and you to appear in court with regard to dropping the charges. Can you
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
about that conversation?
We were in court getting ready for my trial, and Miss Ballou's lawyer, attorney, came to my attorney and spoke with us about if I would drop the charges against Mr. Alphen, then they would drop the charges against me.
And you declined to do that?
Yes, I did, due to my innocence.
Were you suspended from your job for any period of time?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
For how long?
33 days.
You are now back at work?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the defendant?
She wasn't suspended. She is still employed.
All right, Miss Ballou, now I'll hear you.
Well, when I made the complaint to the officer in the report, it was not the 4th. It was sometime the first week, the 1st or the 4th.
What date did you start to work at the company together with the plaintiff?
The beginning of August, I would say.
Of 2001?
Yes.
And Mr. Sells was your supervisor all that time?
Yes.
And was this gentleman your boyfriend all of that time? Yes. Now, I want you to stand up, sir. Your last name is?
Alphen.
Mr. Alphen, why were you leaving notes on the plaintiff's car?
Because my girlfriend, then my fiance now, is being sexually assaulted at work.
No, sexually assaulted is a conclusion. What did your girlfriend tell you that inspired you to leave these notes?
The plaintiff, Ryan, a person has their personal space, and at work he would stand very close to Kristen, you know, talk to her in a flirty manner, try to rub her shoulders, and she would tell him to stop, and he would just blow it off like she was joking. He would try to hug her all the time and put his hands toward her breasts, and yes, ma'am.
That you're making up?
No, ma'am.
That you're making up as you're going? Keep going.
And finally, there was an incident at work where he got very close to her, rubbed himself on her.
No, that happened in March, sir. That happened after you wrote the notes on his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after you left these notes on his car, which you, I assume, did not sign.
No, Your Honor.
What did you say in the notes, sir?
I called him a little bitch.
You called him a little bitch?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know
Now,
if
why would you call him a little bitch? Please.
Because I was very angry.
A little bitch is not something that you call a man. You may call a man a bitch, but you don't call a man a little bitch. Now, why did you call him a little bitch, sir?
Because I was very angry at him for touching my fiancée, ma'am.
You're not answering my question.
Well,
Officer Byrd understands my question. You call a woman a bitch. You don't call a man a little bitch. And you know that. So why would you call him a little bitch?
Because I was angry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me, and he touched my back.
If Brian would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Sells claims he was arrested when co-worker Christine Ballou made false allegations of sexual assault. Ryan says she was looking for revenge.
Now, Miss Ballou, is it just coincidental, madam, that you filed a formal complaint for the first time for incidents that had occurred months before 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested? Is that just coincidental? Is that what you want me to believe?
No, I had...
It was on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, what inspired you 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested to file this complaint?
Well, I had talked to management about it before, and they didn't seem to do anything. So the officer didn't cuff him or anything. He just came to our place of work and told him that both of us needed to meet him at the police station. So we went down there, and I told him everything that Mr. Sells has done to me, and he asked me if I would like to make a complaint, and I said yes. But that day, when we were at work, when I turned him into management for like the 5th time after they didn't do anything, he came back up to work after he
Do you have any copies of the reports that you made to management prior to March of 2002?
They didn't have me write a statement. They just talked.
And you didn't write a statement?
They did not
No, you did not write a statement. You have the ability to write a statement.
I did write statements with one of my management.
Oh, let me see it.
I don't have them. They would not let us take anything out of...
Well, if you write a statement, an intelligent person keeps a copy. Go ahead.
Ryan came back up to work after he found out that I had turned him in, walked up to my register when I was checking people out, told me I was full in sexual harassment, all this was bull.
I believe that's true.
So...
I believe that's true.
I have...
Oh, I believe it. Let me see your proof.
That Ryan has done this to me and other women, and that other people have seen it.
You want them?
I don't want letters. I don't know who the people are. I don't know if they're your friends. I don't know. Certainly your letter is self-serving.
One of the women that are on here is sitting right over there that states...
You have a letter from a woman who is sitting over here?
I have a letter from a woman that saw Mr. Sells, the way he acts sexually towards this woman sitting over here.
Oh, well, let me see. I'd be quite... Don't tell me your name.
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I bring my witness over to speak with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Lisa Volo.
Lisa, you're mentioned in this letter as someone who the plaintiff made sexual comments to. Never touching or anything else, but sexual comments to. Can you think of any of those comments?
No, he never has. And in fact, the Monday after Mr. Sells was arrested, I was called into the management's office. They wanted me to make a statement against Mr. Sells. Ms. Ballou said that I had witnessed the whole sexual assault. And at that time, I made a statement saying that I never witnessed anything and I never saw Mr. Sells.
How long have you been working at the same place as the plaintiff?
I've been working at this store for 9 months.
Have you ever seen Mr. Sells do anything of a sexual nature that was untoward physically to anyone?
No, ma'am, I've never.
And I want you to be honest with me about this. Have you ever heard him say anything, even in a joking manner, that might be construed as being inappropriate?
No, I have never.
Now, Mr. Rolfin, did your girlfriend and now fiancé ever say that she didn't like the way Mr. Sells was talking to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go up to him and discuss it with him?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was very angry and I did not want to take any physical action against Mr. Sells.
That's not physical action.
Well,
That's not physical action. That's just saying, listen, you may think something is cute, but my girlfriend doesn't appreciate it. So I'd like you to not talk to her about anything other than being very professional, rather than writing these sick notes and leaving them on his car unsigned.
But if Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney. I think maybe you didn't like the way he talked to you, but there isn't a chance in hell that he sexually assaulted you as you outlined in your papers. And what you did was your boyfriend got busted because he wrote nasty notes on the car, and this was your way of gaining leverage. Because if you would have said, well, he talked to me inappropriately, they would not have arrested him. They would not have arrested him. So you fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me and he touched my back. Now, your boyfriend has an interesting choice of words when he refers to the plaintiff. So he may not have liked him for a variety of reasons. But there is no question in my mind that you are full of it when you say that he physically touched you. So, he was out of work for 33 days. He hired a lawyer. The maximum he is suing for in the jurisdiction where you come from is $3,000.
Yes,
I believe you are entitled to every penny.
Thank
Judgment
you
for the
so
plaintiff.
much,
That's
Judge.
all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And everyone knows that she lied and that I was totally innocent the whole time.
Ryan knows what he did, and he should be punished, but he's not.
I've never seen Ryan do anything. and I just knew she was lying.
Stay away from Ryan.
Miss Ballou put me through hell for nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Barnett versus Jimenez. Step forward, please.
Teacher Eileen Barnett is suing her former roommate's boyfriend, 25-year-old electrician Adrian Jimenez, for crashing into her car and her home.
Miss Barnett, you know the defendant because somehow you live in the same house that his girlfriend lives in?
Yes, I rent a room to his girlfriend.
You're not going to have to say much because I really need the explanation from Mr. Jimenez. According to your complaint, your car is parked in front of the house. Mr. Jimenez was coming to visit his girlfriend. He pulled into the driveway, I guess, of the house and hit your car. Your car then proceeded to roll into the house, causing a substantial amount of damage to both your car and the house.
Yes, ma'am.
You're suing for both?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Jimenez acknowledges the fact that his car, according to him, tapped. Is that right, Mr. Jimenez?
That's correct.
Tapped your car, and as a result of that tap, it went into the house. He, however, says it is not his fault because you left your car in neutral and parked it in not a great spot. So therefore, she is responsible. Is that right, for her car going into the house? Now, I want you to be quiet, Mr. Jimenez, because I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You see that picture that's right in front of you?
Yes.
I want you to keep looking at it. I want you to stare at it, sir. Did it move?
Not yet, no.
How long do you think you can look at that picture until it moves?
Not long enough.
Now, let's say you take your finger and tap the picture. Just tap it a little bit. See if you can get it to... See how it moved?
It budged.
Just a second. You see how it moved?
Yes, I did.
All right. Her car may or may not have been parked in neutral. Her car may or may not have had the emergency brake on. That is not the reason the car moved. The reason the car moved is because you hit it. Do you understand? Like the picture moved, not because you were willing it to move, but because your finger touched it.
Okay, I even gave her money towards the payment, okay, for me to be able to fix it. I told her, my estimate, okay, for my friends, I can get it paid, work done for $100, give or take.
Yeah, it's just a minute. Go ahead. So?
Now, when I went to her and I gave her that money and I asked her for a receipt, she didn't. She told me she wasn't going to give me one. What more can I say?
Can I see the photographs of the damage, please, first?
Okay.
He gave you $100.
Right here is the photograph of the driveway where he veered off right before he hit the rose bushes. That would be right before the house.
Can I see a picture of the damage, please?
Okay, and right here is rose bush damage. Damage to the house. That is the damage to the house. Mind you, the wood and the grate were not on there. They were put on there for fear of burglary afterwards because there was an open hole in my house.
Your Honor.
Due to the fact of my car, after being pushed by his car
Rose bushes.
into my house, took out the whole window. We had to remove the bay window.
Okay, now can I please see the cost of replacing the bay window?
Okay, this is the cost of the bay window alone without the labor. Okay, I'm having a relative install it, so...
Okay, shh.
Now, Your Honor, she was already having her house remodeled, okay?
When her car went into the house, did it go into the bay window?
Went right underneath it.
Did it break the window?
No, it did not.
It didn't?
And it didn't, and it already had the fence on it.
That is a lie, Your Honor.
Of course it is. You mean she just put this wood up in front of where the window was for no reason?
You know, I don't know why she put the wood there, okay? The railing was already there. The window didn't break, otherwise I would have seen glass.
That is another lie, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, if my truck hit her car with the force and momentum that she
now,
says...
can I please see the damage to the car?
Can
I see a photograph of the car damage?
I do not have the photograph of the car damage because I was under the assumption that he was going to pay for it. So it was already fixed, and then he denied payment. He told me to go ahead and get an estimate, and I went and got it fixed. And he's saying he can go to pick apart and fix my car for $100 when there's clearly a lot more damage to the car than that.
Because the
front bumper hit the
front of the car, and the right rear bumper was hit by his car.
Yes. So it was damage to both ends. And for $100, he smacked down the table. He said he could fix it and pick apart for that kind of
rear
damage.
bumper, which is what I'm responsible for.
No, you're not.
Why not? That's
because
what I did.
Hey.
That's what a homeowner's insurance is for.
Listen to me. Listen to me, sir. You're entitled to the damage you caused.
That was parked halfway on the driveway.
So what?
I mean,
it's my driveway.
How many people get out their car to go get the mail and leave the car running, okay, in neutral without the emergency brake on. I mean, Your Honor.
People that were going to go back and get in the
what?
car to
That's
drive up to
basic
their house
driver's ed,
afterwards.
Listen
okay?
to me, sir.
And if you park on a slope, you turn your wheel.
Listen to me,
You don't
sir.
aim it to your house.
Why did you hit her car?
Why did I barely tapped it when I was trying to move around it?
So full of baloney. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,417. Listen, you do something wrong, you pay for it. She doesn't have to say to you, you and one of your street mechanic friends can fix my car, and she doesn't have to leave her window boarded up. You caused this accident. You. Just like that thing didn't move until you moved it with your hand. Her car would not have moved unless you hit it.
Your Honor, she was already having her house redone.
Period. So what? You just helped it along.
Hey, why didn't
You
I
helped
just
it
pay
along.
For it, you know?
That's all. Step out.
I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm saying she just doesn't know how to drive.
I watched my car just go right into my house and break everything, run over my roses.
She wants me to go ahead and redo her car also, I mean, and her house, and her garden. Come on now.
He got exactly what he deserved.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Eddington versus Hammond. Step forward, please.
Gas station manager Tracy Eddington is suing her former landlords, Michael Hammond Sr. and his son Michael Jr. for the cost of a motel room and property damage caused by a squirrel.
Miss Eddington, the defendant is your landlord. Who's the landlord?
I am, Your Honor.
And who are you, sir?
I'm the manager of the business. We have apartments throughout town.
It is your claim that because you detected that there was someone else living in your apartment, or something else living in your apartment that wasn't paying rent. You heard the scratching through walls. You didn't know exactly what it was. You called one of these two gentlemen. Nothing was done, according to you. And as it turned out, it was a squirrel that eventually found its way into your apartment, caused a great deal of damage. You want to be reimbursed for the damage that this unauthorized tenant did to your kitchen and other parts of your house, as well as the motel stay. How long have you been a tenant of the defendants?
A little over 3 years.
Miss Eddington pay her rent on time?
No complaint with it.
So it's been fine?
It's been fine.
Great. When did you start to hear this little critter in your apartment?
It was March 12th of 2002. I was sitting at my table, and I heard something in the kitchen. I thought it was my two cats.
Stop playing with paper, I can't hear.
Until they walked past me, and the noise still continued. And that's when I got up to see the squirrel run across my feet and back down in the basement.
So the little thing actually went across your feet?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
I got on the phone and called Mike Jr. and told him that I saw a squirrel in the kitchen, and he told me that they had a boiler out at a different facility and that he would get someone there as soon as he could.
When was as soon as he could?
March 18th, almost a week later. The squirrel came in on Tuesday. That Friday, I came home to plants all over the place, food, clothing. The squirrel had relieved himself on my microwave, ate up plants, chewed through a maple syrup bottle. I have pictures of the squirrel. I have dead and alive pictures of the squirrel.
How'd you get pictures of the thing when it was alive?
Well, I called someone and they told me what to do to try and get him out of the apartment. They said to take peanut butter and put it on bread and leave little trails for him. And he went for the bread, but he went back under the stove each time with his food. So I was able to grab my camera off the table and take a picture of him.
Is this a squirrel in a box?
That's the dead squirrel. I'm not quite sure how he died.
How did he die?
We had a mouse problem, and I put mouse bait down in the basement, and I think it got to him, and he died in my box of clothing.
So before the defendant found time to come back to your apartment, all this damage was done?
Yes. Friday night, I just grabbed my cats and some clothes, and we went to a motel.
How long were you at the motel?
9 days. That following Monday, they did put a trap with crackers in it, and I did go back, and there was never any squirrel, and then my brother finally found the squirrel dead in the box.
When did he find the squirrel dead?
March 23rd, the last day I was at the motel.
Okay, who wants to talk?
I would, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
The first time we had a phone call, we documented everything, the phone calls, was the 15th, which was on a Friday.
She says she called on March 12th. Did you call on March 12th?
I called the day that the squirrel came into the apartment.
Which was March 12th. How do you know it was March 12th?
I remembered I wrote it down.
Do you remember what day of the week it was?
That's a Tuesday.
Did you call after that Tuesday?
I called every day after that.
Okay, so the first time you documented her phone call, it was March 15th. Is that right?
The first time it was brought to my attention was March 15th, which was a Friday.
Did you speak to him or to somebody else?
I spoke to him.
Maybe you were busy. Go ahead.
I sent a maintenance worker over there with a flashlight to check the apartment, check the basement. He came back with nothing. Tracy called me back later, said she's still hearing sounds. At this point, there wasn't anything seen, it was only sounds. I went back over there personally, went through the basement, went through the apartment, still found nothing. And then on Monday, which was the 18th, Tracy called me in the morning and said the squirrel had gotten in here, he ate my plants. That's when I called the exterminator, met him over there on Tuesday. The 19th was the quickest he could be over there, who did set up a live trap. And according to my records, Tracy's brother found the squirrel Thursday morning.
So
we've got conflicting dates, obviously.
Okay. But it is clear that even if she called on the 15th and she said to you that there is some sort of animal, rodent, and it was a squirrel because I've seen it. I've seen it. I saw it. It ran across my feet. She says the 12th, you say the 15th. Clearly it was before the 18th, which was the date of the damage. That if you had gotten the exterminator out there between the 15th and the 18th, but you have a tenant who's a perfectly good tenant, paid a rent on time, not a pest, who says to you, there's trouble in my apartment. I mean, it's not the kind of trouble that's an emergency trouble because it's not a pipe burst or water is leaking all over the place. It's a squirrel. But when it became an emergency, she had to move out.
For the record, the 15th, when she called me, she was still hearing noises. Didn't actually see the squirrel until the 18th.
I thought you told me you saw the squirrel initially.
I saw the squirrel on the 12th.
Yeah, on the 12th.
Yes.
That's what she said. And I believe she called you on the 12th, and I believe that you were probably involved in a whole bunch of other things. You see, you manage a whole lot of buildings. Is that
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
You got a lot of other things on your plate. She only has one squirrel. She's asking for, as far as I'm concerned, a minimal amount of money. It's just damage to her property, which I see, and reimbursement for motel expenses. She's asking for $581. That seems perfectly reasonable. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $581. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's conflicting dates.
It was a danger to me and my cats, and it just wasn't taken seriously.
From the first phone call forward, we wrote the time and dates down.
I felt unsafe.
We were there on time and time.
Make sure all your holes are patched up in your house.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tyler versus Webb. Step forward, please.
Tax preparer Peggy Tyler is suing her former employer, business owner Tom Webb, for past due wages and sexual harassment.
Ms. Tyler, according to your complaint, you worked for the defendant in January of 2000 and...
Till April 15th of 2002, I'm sorry.
April of 2002, mid-April.
Right.
And you claim that he owes you some money. You say he owes you money for some wages that he didn't pay you for, that 2 weeks' worth, that he owes you some commission.
Yes, ma'am.
That he sexually harassed you, which is the reason he's not going to pay you because you did not respond to his advances. And third and finally, that he had promised to pay your son some money for doing some odd jobs for him.
It was one, Your Honor. They took a balloon down the whole season.
You'll explain that to me because I have no idea what kind of work you were doing for Mr. Webb because it doesn't say in the complaint what kind of work you were doing and what kind of place he has. Mr. Webb says there was some money outstanding, according to him, but he said you broke your agreement with him. The agreement was that you would work for him through April 15th, and you left prior to that date, so he's not paying you a dime.
No, I didn't leave prior to that date.
That's your defense. Is that right, sir?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He would look down our blouses and make comments about our breasts.
And the other thing you say is your boobs would make nice pillows.
Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be seen and not heard.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peggy Taylor says former employer Tom Webb sexually harassed her when he called her a hot biker mama. Peggy says when she rebuffed his advances, he refused to pay her.
What kind of business do you have, Mr. Webb?
Tax preparation and filing, Your Honor.
Ms. Tyler, when did you start to work for the defendant?
I actually started to work for him December the 23rd.
In what capacity?
I was a tax preparer, Your Honor.
And what was the salary that you were supposed to receive?
$7.50 an hour.
Is that correct so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what about the commission part of it?
When we got hired, everybody that got hired
we signed a paper and agreed to that if we quit or was fired before April the 15th, we would not get our commission. Which,
well, I don't understand what the commission was. Is that a bonus?
The commission, yes, ma'am, it's like a bonus. It's on every tax return that I did. I get so much commission on that.
Let me see the contract that you signed.
It's not a contract, Your Honor. This is the people that I did from January, all of us in the...
Can I see the contract that you signed? Okay. So according to this, you started to work for him on January 1st, 2002. And you worked for him until what date, Ms. Tyler?
April the 15th at 9 p.m.
And how much are you owed in salary?
It's about $600.
Did you pay her salary for the last 2 weeks she worked for you?
The last pay period was actually about 8 days, and she did not receive that paycheck for those last 8 days, which
Why not?
Have been a gross of about $310, net of about $270. Ms. Tyler owed me $400.
For what?
From a loan I made to her February 1st. I'm not in the habit of loaning money to my employees, but she had a distinct need, a child who was very ill, who needed medicine, and if she didn't have that medicine, the child would either get very ill.
Did you borrow money from him?
Yes, I did.
How much?
It was $400.
Did you pay him back?
No, I did not. At the end of the tax season when we went to the party, I had $200 in cash, Your Honor, and tried to give him that and ask him to bring the checks up there, and I was going to sign my other check over to him, which would have been well over the $400, but he did not want that. He asked me and my son to leave the commission party.
Just a second. When do you claim she left your employ, sir?
The last day that we have on record that she worked was April 13th. I have the daily time records from the last 2 days of the year, the 14th and 15th, and she did not work on those.
Let me see.
On the 15th, when I worked, Your Honor, Charlie is the one I called to the home office and asked him to clock me in.
Well, was that your general practice? To have
Yes,
somebody
ma'am.
else clock you in?
Yeah, we would either clock in on the computer and then we would call the home office and tell them what time we were in. And I worked from 9 a.m. or 9:30 that morning until 9 p.m. that night. That's when I turned my key over to B.J. Wade.
What key are you talking about?
To the office. All the employees had keys because on Sundays I worked by myself and I had to open the office.
Well, B.J., that's you. B.J. Wade, is that you?
Yes.
Step up, please. You were in the office on that day, is that right?
Yes.
On the 14th?
Yes.
Was the plaintiff there on that day?
Yes, she was.
Are you still working there?
No, I'm not.
How long did you work there?
The whole tax season.
Did you get
January
paid?
till April 15th.
Did you get paid?
Yes.
You know a Michelle?
Yes.
Was Michelle there on the 14th?
No.
Yes, she was. Time in 5, time out 9. She was there.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peggy Tyler says former boss Tom Webb refuses to pay her because she refused his sexual advances.
How many people were you responsible for, madam?
6.
Of the 6 people that you were responsible for, how many worked until the 15th?
All of them but one.
Who was that?
Nancy.
So then the 5 people that you were responsible for get their commissions?
Yes.
Could you explain to me why she did not?
Because she owed the money, which she did agree to pay that back at the commission party, and he would not do it the way that she offered to do it.
Okay. Have a seat. Now, Ms. Tyler, let's address this theory that you have that the reason he's not paying you, according to your complaint, is that you did not respond to his sexual advances. You want to tell me about that?
He would look down our blouses and make comments about our breasts.
Tell me not our. Tell me what he said to you.
He called me a hot mama biker because
Okay, stop. When did he call you a hot mama biker?
It was in February.
Okay. Now, after February, and was the other comment that he made to you something about your breasts made at approximately the same time?
It was after that.
In what month?
Around the end of February, maybe the first week in March.
So that both remarks were made to you, being a hot biker mama, and the other thing you say is your boobs would make nice pillows.
Mm-hmm.
You attribute that to the defendant. Were made to you either in February or at the latest the first week in March. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes.
And you got paid the entire month of February. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And you got paid the entire month of March. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And when did you ask for this loan?
I believe it was around the end of February.
So none of the comments that he made to you
so appalled you that you would be reluctant to ask him for a loan. Is that right?
Right.
So why let us assume that it's true for the moment, which I don't necessarily believe, sir. I want you to understand that. Why would you say that he was withholding your money because of this sexual harassment?
Because he didn't honestly believe that I would do anything about it. Because I'm not the only one that he cheated out of commission money, and years before that he did people the same, ladies the same way, which he doesn't believe women can hold any kind of an office anywhere because they're not smart enough. We're supposed to be seen and not heard. But, Your Honor, honestly, if it hadn't been for all of us women, he wouldn't have had offices.
Miss Tyler, if you didn't like Mr. Webb as an employer, don't go to work for him. You owe him $400. Now, clearly, he owes you some money, too. He owes you for 8 days, which, according to him, comes to what in gross pay, sir?
About $310.
Mr. Webb, I want you to figure out, sir, how much she earned in commissions. I assume that you've done that already.
Yes, ma'am.
And what would that amount be?
She did 133 tax returns, net to the company of about $14,000, which would have been $700 gross as a commission.
So altogether, we're talking about $1,010. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
From which we deduct $400. Now, it's really too bad that it ended this way. You being a nice person to make some loans. I think Miss Tyler's accusations of sexual harassment are off the wall. If, in fact, you did say something stupid like that, I'll just chalk it up to stupidity. First of all, your sexual harassment is dismissed because you're suing him for $2,500. I want you to get that figure right out of your mind. Now, tell me about the deal with your sons.
They were to take the balloon down. BJ's husband put it up. They took it down.
How often did they take down this balloon?
Every night. It was 7 nights a week.
Really?
Yes.
And what was the agreement with regard to taking down the balloon?
He was going to pay them $100 each.
You have any agreement with the boys, sir?
I didn't know the boys existed until this was filed.
Really?
Correct.
Okay. Who do you claim he made the agreement with?
He made the agreement with my older son. He talked to him.
Come, step up. Tell me your name.
Jesse Tyler.
Tell me when you first met Mr. Webb.
I never met him before. I talked to him on the phone.
Tell me about how it came to pass that you spoke to Mr. Webb on the phone.
My mom told me that he wanted somebody to take the balloon down, and she told him that we could do it.
Tell me what you had to do.
It was out in front of the building, and we had to unplug it and let the air out of it and put it in the case and bring it in the building.
Mr. Webb, who did you think took the balloon down?
I was paying B.J. Wade and her husband, who took her to work and picked her up in the evening to do that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Wade, stand up. Yes. Were you supposed to put the balloon out and take it up? You were the office manager.
My husband put it up every morning at 9 o'clock.
Were you supposed to take it down?
No.
How much was he paid?
It was like $8 extra on my check a week to take it down. And I don't have the stubs with me. I didn't bring them.
Interesting. How did you know that it was this gentleman that you spoke to on the phone?
She told me. My mom told me.
Tell me how that came about.
We talked to him.
Tell me about that you talked to him. So far, I believe that your mother said to you, he wants you to take the balloon down, and he'll pay you for it, and he'll give you $100. I want you to tell me, and I want you to make sure you tell me the truth, because otherwise, you know, I'm unpleasant. You'll always trip yourself up if you lie. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever speak to him on the phone?
Yes.
Tell me when, and tell me how that phone call came about.
It was in the beginning of January when the tax season started.
Go ahead.
And she answered the phone and told me that it was him, and I talked to him about it.
So you got on the phone, and what did you say?
I said that, what did you want me to talk about? You know, like that, you know.
No, don't buy it.
What?
Don't buy it. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced it wasn't her husband. I have to be satisfied that he had a contract with him. That doesn't mean...
Well, they didn't put nothing in writing. No.
Can't hire a 10-year-old. Did your husband also pick you up from work?
Yes, but
yes, he did.
I did not work till
Okay,
closing.
judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $610, and that is for the wages and the commission that I believe you owe her, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
No sexual harassment
And no balloon. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You got lucky.
He knows he owes my boys. He knows BJ's husband put the balloon up, but he also knows my boys took it down every night.
She wanted something that she felt was due to her that I was quite sure was not due to her.
They're just kids. They're supposed to trust and believe in grown-ups' word, and this is what happened.
8 years I've been doing this. This is the first time anybody's ever accused me of anything.
He's pushed women around his whole life, does his wife, and still does women, and that's why he's never going to get anywhere.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Yonkers versus Ponce. Step forward, please.
20-year-old dietary aide Melissa Yonkis is suing her one-time blind date, 21-year-old student Richard Ponce, for the cost of a motel room and several in-room movies.
The two of you, according to what I've read, were introduced to each other socially through a friend and began communicating both on the phone and the internet. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you decided it was time to meet. And for some bizarre reason that I'm sure someone will explain to me briefly, you decided to have your first meeting at a motel. You arrived at the motel and you decided to put the room on your credit card.
That's correct.
You went into the motel to hang out. According to you, you got disgusted with something that happened in the motel because he was going out to visit a friend, and you stormed out. Then later on, you got a bill for 2 nights' stay at a hotel, because he evidently decided to stay that night and an extra night, and for some movies that he had rented. You wanted to pay you back for the 2 nights at the motel and the videos. Is that what this case is about?
That's correct.
He says that you stormed out, that somebody, he assumes it was you, vandalized his car, which caused him to get stuck in the motel for an extra day. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Just tell me why, briefly, you decided to have your first meeting in a motel.
Well, I'd worked late that night, and I live 45 minutes away from the defendant, so by the time I got to where he lives, it was already late, so there wasn't really much else we could do. We both live with our parents, we couldn't go to each other's houses, so we decided to go to a hotel. We had talked about it for a long time, and that was the most convenient day, so I decided.
So what time did you arrive at the motel?
I think it was around 10:30.
And what happened, sir, that caused you to want to leave?
Well, the thing was, I was just not really into her when I met up with her.
You didn't like what you saw?
Well, I went out with a drink with my buddy, which I invited her to come out with me. I came back to the hotel, and I realized that my car was vandalized.
Yes.
My tires were slashed. The car wouldn't start. I'd called a friend who was a tow truck driver to fix. This car was a loaner. This is not my car. So I had to get the car fixed before my friend had found out it had been vandalized, or else he wouldn't trust me ever again with the loaner whenever the emergency case might be needed again, you know.
Why did you stay at the motel 2 nights?
Well, my tow truck driver, the friend that I had was a tow truck, was out of town, and he told me he'd been in town.
Well, Mr. Ponce, you know, you're making this up as you're going. You live in that town, do you not?
I live in the area.
You live in the area. Go home.
Well, I couldn't leave the car there.
Why not? It wasn't gone anywhere. It was already vandalized, had flat tires, and it wouldn't run. So what do you mean you couldn't leave it there?
Well, I couldn't leave it there. I just don't trust leaving a car just vandalized like that. I'm sure a tow truck would just pick it up, a car like that. Like, you know, it wasn't even mine. Then I'll lose track and see where it's going to go. So I stayed there the night. I waited until my friend came to pick it up. He fixed it, and unfortunately,
let me see all your receipts,
I don't
sir.
have any evidence or receipts because of the fact that I paid him to fix the car, and it was not like he's not working in a mechanic shop.
You are so full of yourself. You are so full of it and yourself. I begin to zone out because there is nothing there of substance, nothing truthful. I don't even have to listen to it. I mean, I can fantasize about a whole bunch of other things. I'll listen to you. Listen, the first day of the motel you pay for. Do you understand? That's your mistake. How much did the second night cost? Show me your bill.
Okay. With the movies and the extra day, it cost me $221.
For the second night in the movies?
Yeah, altogether it was $360.
Did you watch any of the movies with him?
No, I left after the first night.
$221. Listen, consider yourself lucky. He's a real loser. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $221. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This car business, I don't even know where it came from.
She had vandalized my car.
He was the one who pursued me. I don't know what he's talking about. He wasn't. into me because he totally was. He made all the first move, everything.
She's pretty much overconfident with herself. She thought just like, you know, with her looks, she can get everything, you know.
I'm just happy she saw through that whole lie.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Collazo, step forward, please.
21-year-old homemaker Aubrey Davis is suing her sister, custodian Claudia Collazo, for the cost of her son's medical bills. Aubrey says she paid for his treatment after he suffered an epileptic seizure.
Miss Davis, how are you related to the defendant?
She's my sister.
And this is your nephew?
Yes, correct.
Your son?
Yes.
According to your complaint, he was staying with you for a brief period of time. While he was with you, he had a seizure.
Correct.
You suffer from epilepsy?
Yes.
And he was taken to the emergency room. There was a medical bill of over $1,500, and you want your sister to be responsible for that.
Correct.
When did he come to live with you?
July 5th.
Prior to that, where was he living?
I believe he was at Stephanie's house, which is who he's living with now.
Who's Stephanie?
It is his dad's ex-wife. That's as much as I know about her.
Step up here, please. Tell me your name.
Richard Ornelas.
Before you came to live with your aunt in July, who were you living with?
My brother's mom, Stephanie.
How long had you been living with her?
About a year.
And how old were you when you went to live with Stephanie?
15.
Why weren't you living with your mother?
My mom just told me, you know, leave. My mom told me to leave.
But she told you to leave when you were 15?
Yeah.
When did he get sick?
July 6th.
Is that right?
Yes.
You were with your aunt for only one day before you had a seizure?
Yes.
Had you had seizures before?
Yes.
Did you have seizures when you lived with your mom?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down, Richard? Have a copy of the bills?
Yes.
Can I see them, please?
I also have a copy here from the hospital that shows that I never signed. And I asked them for the copy of the law stating that she's responsible for the bills since I didn't sign that paper. And all they gave me was that the law. They didn't give me a copy of the actual law.
You took him to the hospital, is that right?
The ambulance took him and I arrived there with them.
Okay, Ms. Collazo. Ball's in your court. Why are you not responsible for these bills?
January of 2002, Richard moved out of my house. I did not throw him out. I was having problems with him at school. He was arrested. He was in juvie. He didn't want to obey by my laws. I have documentation that that Stephanie had guardianship of Richard since January of 30th of 2002.
Stephanie was married to his father.
I don't know if they were legally married, but they had children.
Okay. That's where he went to live.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And
Where is his father?
Pardon?
Where's his father?
Where is his father? He lives in Las Vegas.
Okay, go ahead.
I have documentation of everything, of the guardianship papers.
Guardianship doesn't mean that Stephanie is financially responsible for him.
No, but he was living with her at the time.
Yes.
I didn't know that he was living with Aubrey.
Yes.
I received a phone call from Aubrey's husband stating that Richard was in the hospital. And I told him, well, don't have her sign anything. Get a hold of Stephanie. She has guardianship since I live 63 miles out of town.
Well, somebody has to admit him.
I was assumed that he was admitted. He was brought by ambulance. I don't know what was going on. All I had is a phone call.
Did you rush to the hospital?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I had no way to get there right then and there.
You don't have a car?
Yes, I have a car, but I did not have a way to get there.
Where was your car?
It was there. It was at home.
So what do you mean you had no way to get there?
Financially, I was not working at that time.
You were an hour away?
Yes. It was late at night.
So? You're in for a rude awakening, madam. Because someone has guardianship of your child,
right,
that doesn't make them financially responsible for your child.
Okay.
Parents are responsible for the necessaries of a child. Necessaries mean food, clothing, shelter, medical care, sometimes lawyers' fees, and a variety of other things.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't change unless you go to court and have your child emancipated. If your 15-year-old child is emancipated, by some judge who's a little nutty, then maybe you won't have financial responsibility for the necessaries. But right now you do. Not her.
Then why did she go in there and do what she did?
What did she do?
She jumped in my business. That's how I feel.
Your son came to our house on July 5th. He was there less than 24 hours and he had a seizure. What would you have suggested that she do, Ms. Galazzo?
She did the right thing.
So then what are you complaining about?
Is why I'm being taken to court. Why not
Who's
the
supposed
father?
to- You can sue the father and say, listen, I had to pay this bill, but you're partially responsible for it too. I'll pay half and you pay half. She doesn't have to go searching for the father who lives in Las Vegas.
Correct.
You do that.
Okay.
If you chose to allow him to leave your home and you chose to allow him to be under the guardianship of a biological stranger, that's within your family. But when it comes to his necessaries, you're not off the hook. If you want to sue his father, go to it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,595. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that the judge saw it the way I saw it.
He's old enough. He should be responsible to take his medication.
I could have, put him out on the street corner and called 911, told him, there's a kid out on the corner sick.
I don't blame her for doing this, but I feel things were out of my control.
I gotta do what I gotta do.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Batiste versus Franquitos. Step forward, please.
Sports attire salesman Edgar Batiste is suing former friend, 24-year-old bartender Alicia Franquito, for selling him bogus airline tickets.
Mr. Batiste,
Good evening, Your Honor.
according to your complaint, sir, you purchased some Buddy airline tickets from the defendant. I don't know what these are. You're going to explain that to me. And according to you, you didn't get what you paid for. You want your money back. And it says you don't get your money back. This was a final sale. So first, you want to tell me what a Buddy ticket is, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I purchased 3 Buddy passes from Alicia Franquito.
Could you keep your voice up? I want you to tell me what they are. I've just told you. They're Buddy passes.
Yes.
What are they?
They're airline travel tickets.
I never heard of that. Can I see what they look like?
Can I explain it to you?
Sure.
Basically, if someone works for an airline, they can give free tickets to people, and I had bought them from a friend who knows the person who works for the airline.
Just a minute. So the airline give to their employees free tickets.
Yes.
That they can use like a companion ticket?
Yes.
So that the airline employee can take a companion with them to go someplace.
Or they can just give them away to people to use.
But they're not supposed to sell them.
Right.
They're not supposed to sell them.
Exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Batiste, well, it says right here that this can't be sold, right?
I guess
Did you
so,
read
Your
that?
Honor. No, I didn't at the time, Your Honor. I didn't.
Well, you knew it couldn't be sold or bought. You know that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
In any event, the reason you want your money back is because they told you that you had to pay a certain amount of money in addition to these tickets to
Yes,
travel?
ma'am.
And the person you sold them to somebody else.
Some friends were supposed to travel.
You sold them to somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
And the person you sold them to said, I want my money back, because it says that I had to give them more money to use these tickets, according to your complaint. And now you want your money back from her.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
she should get her money back from the person she bought them from. Right?
Yes.
So am I correct that this is a whole little scam? Somebody who works for the airlines gets free tickets, and then they start selling them. How much did you pay for them?
40.
You paid 40. You sold them to him for 175 apiece. Right? Shh. And how much did you sell them for?
My friends paid me $175 each, Your Honor.
So you were even.
And I paid her. Yes, ma'am.
Give those back to him, please. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Mr. Batiste, I'm going to tell you what the law is, what we call the doctrine of clean hands. That means that when you come into a court of law and ask a court to give you justice, you have to come in with clean hands, not having done anything wrong with regard to the particular events surrounding the case. You did something wrong. So did she. You did something wrong by buying black market tickets. She did something wrong by buying black market tickets. So do you know what courts say to folks like you who did something wrong? They tell you to get out. They say, don't waste our time.
We're not interested in trying to help people who are doing the wrong thing. We have enough time to spend trying to help people who are doing the right thing and getting screwed. We don't try to help people who you screw a little bit, she screws a little bit, and then you come into court and say, please help me because I was screwed more than her. We don't have time for that. Goodbye, Mr. Batiste.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I sort of expected this decision.
I expected it.
My buddies gave me the money. They're out of the money. I'm out of a little money myself.
I don't know. I just knew I shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Next time I will do my ticket buying through an internet service.
Paid loan.
Ms. Hickman, your case is relatively simple. You claim that you made a loan to the defendant, who was your personal trainer, when he said he was in a financial bind and he needed rent money, and he made the loan. And he paid some. His wife paid some.
Correct.
He made a couple of payments, but there is still a substantial balance.
Correct.
Mr. Zenslav said that this was not a loan, but prepayment for his training services, and that you sort of backed out of the training/nutrition program. So that's your problem. You lose your money. That's your defense, right?
Yes.
Just curious, before I get started with this case, how much do you get per hour for personal training? No, don't look over there. I want you to know that I know all about this. Everybody that I know except me has a personal trainer. I work out every day. I don't take instruction well, so I don't have a personal trainer. I have a husband who had a personal trainer. All my friends have personal trainers. So now I want you to answer my question, unless there's something extraordinary about you, which there is not. How much do you get per hour for personal training?
$75.
That's a reasonable figure. Just informational purposes. How much money did you take from Miss Hickman?
How much money did I take?
Yes, how much money did you take from me? I haven't paid.
Correct.
And on what date did she give you $2,300?
I believe sometime at the end of last year, or it was close to the beginning of this year, somewhere along that time.
Date?
November 22nd, 2021.
And at that time, how long had you been training her? Since when? When did you start with her as a client?
I think like the beginning of summer last year, so I'd say...
Date?
July 2021.
Beginning, middle, or end?
Beginning.
July, August, September, October. So you had been training her for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Up until November 22nd, how much money had she given you for training? Did she pay you by the week? Did she pay you by the month? How did she pay you?
Up front, first,
Okay,
monthly.
in July.
Yep.
Not yup. That's not yup.
Yes,
Yup
ma'am.
you say to your friends or to your wife. So in July,
Yes.
when you started,
Yes.
she gave you how much?
500.
For the month of July.
Yes, ma'am.
The month of August, how much did she give you?
500.
Is that correct?
Correct.
September,
Same amount.
$500.
No, because that's when we had the agreement.
No. Don't give me agreement nonsense. The beginning of July, she gave you $500.
Yep.
Beginning of August,
Yep.
she gave you $500. Beginning of September,
Yes.
she gave you $500. The beginning of October, she gave you $500. How much did she give you in the beginning of November? This $2,300 was not paid until November 22nd. How much did she give you the beginning of November?
Then it must have been $500.
Is that correct? So now she has given you $2,500
Yes, ma'am.
for 5 months. She's given you $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I want you to tell me what happened in November after you gave him the $2,500.
So we agreed to $100 monthly payments.
This is in November?
November, after we signed the agreement.
What agreement?
The agreement was that...
No, I want to see the agreement. Don't tell me what it
Absolutely.
was. I'd like to see it. Who wrote this?
I did.
Well, I don't actually understand it. It says, I, Mr. Venslov, hereby accept $2,300 from my clients and virtual check-ins from November 22nd, 2021 to May 15th, or 1 month of training and payment plans of no less than $100 a month, starting 12/22/21. I agree to pay back the full amount in 12 months. I actually don't understand what that means, because you agreed to pay back the full amount in 12 months by paying her no less than $100 a month, starting December 2021. First part says you're accepting this $2,300 from your client in trade and paid in advance for training, but that you will pay her $100 a month and be finished paying her in 12 months by 11/22/2022. Okay. So you wrote this up.
Yes.
I don't understand it because it doesn't make sense.
Of course.
So there had to be a reason why you picked this $2,300. He's been training you July, August, September, October, and November. You paid him $500 each month, and there's $2,300. Tell me how the $2,300 came about.
So over the course of those months, we became good friends. I see him 3 times a week. We get to know each other, talk, open up, and we're very friendly with each other. He opened up about me about having financial hardships.
No, he'd opened up. He said to you.
Yeah, he said to me, I need to borrow $2,300.
And you said to him?
Why can't you ask anybody else?
And he said to you?
His girlfriend's father, if he were to ask him, he would pry and find out that he was addicted to cocaine.
That's what he told you?
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
Oh, okay. So if I give you this money, we're going to write an agreement to cover me in case you don't pay me back.
And what did he say?
Okay. And that day on November 22nd, we wrote out the agreement.
You wrote the agreement?
Absolutely. I wrote it down, and he gave me a photo of his driver's license that day. And
you have a copy of that driver's license?
I do have a photo on my phone, yes.
I'd like to see it.
Of course.
Nessa Hickman claims her trainer, Dylan Venzloff, owes for an unpaid loan. Dylan says it was a trade agreement and not a loan.
Okay. Mr. Venzloff, understanding what... Nobody. And I'm very old. Now, can you give me a logical reason why the plaintiff would have a copy of your driver's license in her phone?
To make sure that the trade agreement stays.
What's the trade agreement?
The trade agreement was that she was going to give me the money, and I was going to...
Just a second. Let's go back for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
So what she says, in part, was accurate. Is that what you're telling me?
In part.
That you became friends, you would talk to her, you had a girlfriend, you knew he had a girlfriend.
Correct.
You asked her for money.
Yes, ma'am.
Different amount of money because you were in financial difficulty.
Yes, ma'am.
And that she asked you, why couldn't you ask your girlfriend's father? Because she evidently knew that, based upon the fact that you were friends, that you're the wife, girlfriend, whatever, your father has money?
Yes.
Okay. Why couldn't you ask the girlfriend's father, right?
Yes.
She asked you that question?
Yes.
And did you say to her, because I didn't want him to pry?
Yes.
Because I have a cocaine habit?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. After she gave you that money, and you were supposed to, according to this agreement, make $100 a month payments to her. That would took. That's what it says.
Yeah, if I was unavailable.
No, it doesn't say. There's nothing here that says unavailable.
Well, it's actually.
There's nothing. That's why I don't understand this agreement.
Yeah.
You see. Not yet. That's why I don't understand this agreement, because one talks about training and workouts, and one talks about you agreeing to pay her back within 12 months at no less than $100 a month. So it doesn't make any sense. So now I have to figure out what it was that really happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this paper says something about $100 a month. Now, did you ever give her $100 a month?
Yes, for a month.
In what months did you give her $100 a month?
I think it was the first 3 months.
And you gave it to her how?
Via Venmo.
Did he give you the first 3 months?
He gave me the last 2 months, and his wife paid me the first month.
That would be you? Yes. Stand up, please. Tell me your last name.
Venzloff.
When did you find out that your husband had taken money from the plaintiff?
When she had sent me a message on Instagram asking for me to send her money that he was late on a payment.
And that was in what month?
I believe mid-January she messaged me.
January of 2022. But it sounded like you didn't know about it because the first you heard about it was when she sent you a message. So he had not told you that he took money from her before. Now, when you found out, you confronted him about this, did you take money from the plaintiff?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
He told me that he had to pay for rent that month.
Were you living together?
We were already married.
Were you working?
I was.
So you were working, and he was working. He was making money. So if you're the wife, you say, what do you mean? We need money for rent. I'm working. You're working. What's it all about? Did you know he had a drug problem?
That was when I found out.
Okay. Well, that's a fair question. I like the honesty. Did you have discussions with him about that?
Yes.
Did he go into rehab?
Yes.
Great. When did he go into rehab?
He went for a week in December into a detox, and then he went for a month this last June, I believe.
Because he had a relapse?
Yes.
How long was it in June?
30 days.
During December and June, had he ever been arrested?
No.
So he did this voluntarily?
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
She was being kind to him, and probably, ultimately, if he stays clean, saved his life. Reasonable, you know, because but for that, you wouldn't have found out, you wouldn't have forced him to take some action. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Do you have a drug problem?
I don't know.
Does your father still not like him?
They're best friends.
They're best friends?
Yes.
Interesting. I'm absolutely shocked. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I thought that she handled it very well. I didn't need to go over all the details. She did that all for me.
Honestly, you know, it was a trade agreement, which it clearly states in the first part, you know, so I had the entire year.
I don't think that he could have sent me the payments. I had to keep
To either pay her back or train her, and she served me before the contract was even up.
crying and messaging him for it. I think court was where it needed to be settled.
All she wanted was the money back, but I told her I was completely available. Then she moved out of the area.
He's a great trainer, absolutely amazing trainer, hands down. Borrowing money, not the smartest decision.
Well, I think he could have handled the situation differently, but I think he was trying to do his best to get us out of a sticky situation.
You know, I think it's about time to find someone else.
So you should have a writing, but you're supposed to have a writing that's clear. And I know that there's a rule of law that if a contract or an agreement is ambiguous, that a third party can't figure out, fact finder can't figure out what the intent of the parties was. Was it a training agreement, which is what he said, which is a lot of baloney? Was it a loan that you're allowed to go beyond that contract? So your experience in law school is much closer.
I did just study this, so it's true that if a fully integrated agreement, meaning that it's clear, the meeting of the minds between parties is clear to a third-party fact finder, then usually outside evidence is not allowed because you clearly have what the meeting of the minds of the parties was. However, in a case like this, when it's more ambiguous or the terms are ambiguous or you're not quite clear what the meeting of the minds was for, a loan, like you said, or training, you're allowed to bring in outside evidence to gap fill those sort of ambiguous
and to
terms.
figure out what the intent of the parties was.
Exactly. So for that exact reason, but I can appreciate
After her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
Yes.
you needed a place to board her for a weekend.
Yes.
A weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you or whatever and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16th.
It was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, she was in. I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe. That you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister, and you saw what happened with the dog. Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me.
Sofia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery.
We took her in, and we had also another
Not
dog.
me. I want you to tell me, you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second. Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard?
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
think, yeah, I don't think so. And you saw what happened with the dog.
Yes.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of
Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog. Your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because
urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
So the invoice was $58.18
for the surgery
and $862. $66.08. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but just my baby turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out. Glad the dog's okay.
Dulce's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter. Because
no bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but...
No, but it was negligent.
Auburn.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 2194, Franchini Nunez versus Ellen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Nunez?
Yes.
Your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
You and Mr. Allen?
Elam, Your Honor.
Elam are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have backyards that are joined, separated only by a fence.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of fence?
It looks plastic. I'm not sure.
Who has a picture of the fence? And you each have, as would happen, dogs, same breed.
No, ma'am.
What do you have?
I have a Shetland sheepdog and a Dutch Shepherd, ma'am.
And what do you have?
I have shepherd mixes.
How many dogs?
2, Your Honor.
And you have 2.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what the case is about. This is the fence. It's not a chain link fence. It's either a wooden or a plastic fence. And you can see that underneath this fence, there's a board here where I assume there's a hole because the dogs dig holes to get to each other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Case is about an incident that occurred. You've been neighbors for a while, and you have had this dog digging also for a while. Also correct?
Yes.
Both.
One dog. Okay, so the day started out, me and my husband woke up. My husband had to go get a tire fixed, so he took my smallest dog, my Shetland sheepdog, with him. I remained home with my 2 children.
Slowly. Okay.
Sorry.
How old are your kids?
They are 6 and 7, ma'am.
Okay.
I remained home with my children because they were ill, and I had an appointment with them later on that day. My husband went to go fix the tire at 8 a.m. I got up in the morning to let my dog out.
Got up in the morning to let your dog out?
Yes.
The shepherd mix?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I let her out, and then she came back in, and I was cleaning, and my 2 children were in my master suite with my macaw, Penelope.
Okay. That's what the case about. This case is about a macaw.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cost of a macaw.
Yes.
Which is a bird.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My kids were in the master suite. I opened the door. I'm out there cleaning. I let my dog out of my...
And the dog came back.
Sliding door. She came back. Well, then she stayed by the door. Now, none of my windows have curtains, so I can...
Just a second. But she stayed by the door, but she was inside?
She came back inside. I shut go further than that, and she was just kind of staring out. From the left side of the house is where the defendant's dog, Bella, charged in my home. And then when I tried to grab her...
When you say his dog, Bella,
yes,
came into the side and ran into the house, that doesn't... Somehow, if the dog, Bella, came out and your dog was on the step, it would seem to me it would stop on the step at first to sniff, play with your dog if your dog is sitting outside. I mean, I have dogs. Would go over to that dog first, not run into your house.
You would think that, ma'am, but she's been in our house 3 times before this because I had to return her to the defendant on 3 separate occasions. And she didn't do that day. When she came in the backyard on the 3 other instances, I remember the very first time someone from that household came to my door, and I knew the dog was in my backyard, but I didn't open my door. I left her back there. I figured they'd come. They did. And I said, hold on a second. I put my kids, I put my Sheltie in the room with my bird, and I shut the door.
Are we talking about the same date,
ma'am.
December?
We're talking about other days that I brought.
Okay, let's not go on tributaries.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your dog's name?
Lucy.
Lucy. So the dog just went straight into your house. And what did Lucy do?
Lucy charged after her and tried to attack her.
Okay.
When I shut all the doors to all my bedrooms, someone from the defendant's home came. I opened up the front door, brought her in, and she went straight out because there was nowhere else for her to go.
Okay, so it's your dog that is Lucy is the more aggressive dog.
Lucy's never been aggressive with her. I believe that Lucy was aggressive with her that day because of the way she came in the house.
When you say Lucy was aggressive, what did she do?
She started growling at her, and she started...
In the house?
Yes.
Now they're in the house. Put a period there. We have the 2 dogs in your house.
Yes.
And they are growling at each other. So that's not a happy picture because they're big dogs.
Yes.
Now let's get to the bird. You purchased a macaw.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a photograph of what they look like?
Yes.
When did you purchase the macaw?
I purchased her with payments over time. I completed the purchase at the end of September 30th.
This is the macaw?
Yes, ma'am. That's my
parrot?
Yes, ma'am.
In December, how old was she?
She was going to be 8 months.
And how much did you pay for her?
I paid $4,320.08 for Penelope.
Okay, can I see the bill?
Absolutely, ma'am. Her birth certificate along
She's
with
beautiful.
all of... She bolted in my master suite where my kids were.
Lucy?
No, Bella.
Bella.
Bella did. And I went in there, like, I heard my kids screaming, Bella is killing Penelope.
And later today...
Is there something wrong with your mind?
No.
Did you just say to me, am I crazy? Did he say he owed back child support?
Yes.
To her?
Tricia Franchini claims her neighbor, Scott Ellum, owes for the cost of a baby macaw bird killed by Scott's dog.
Tell me what got you interested in the macaw.
Earlier this year, full disclosure, ma'am, ended up in the hospital very sick for 2 weeks, and I was going through a lot, and I started volunteering at the bird store down by my home, and I really liked the Hans macaw because my grandma had one when she was younger.
Slowly.
Yes, ma'am. And so I spent a lot of time bonding with the birds there, and my husband and I thought it would be good and therapeutic for me, given what I had been going through.
Okay, now the 2 dogs are in your house. sort of fighting with each other.
They did not fight, ma'am. I did not allow them to.
Growling.
Yes, ma'am.
Growling at each other. And tell me what happened with Bella and the macaw.
I tried to calm Lucy down, and my master door was open. Everything was happening so fast. I know I'm describing it slowly, but it was quick. She bolted in my master's suite where my kids to Bella. I couldn't. My dog was standing in between us. And while I was with the two dogs, then my son thought, oh, I'm gonna go get her. And that's when Bella kind of snapped at him and she scratched him. And so then I couldn't get her. I couldn't, she literally was like chewing her up and like dropping her and like biting her again, you know? And it wasn't until my Dutch Shepherd bit her on the nose that she finally let her go, and I swooped and I grabbed her. I booked it to my pantry in my kitchen with my kids, and Lucy stayed in front of the door, and I have a door on it, and I just stayed in there, and I called my husband, and I was screaming on the phone. He got home maybe, I don't know how long, it probably really only was like 5 or 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. She was like
and where was
in my
Bella
arms.
during this time?
Bella was around the pantry with a bird in her mouth, and then I took the bird from Bella, and then I put her to the cage, and then Lucy just stayed by the parrot, and then I opened the door and talked to the kids. They were all hysterical, and I was trying to understand what she was saying.
Where was Bella?
Bella was in the kitchen with a parrot.
And how did Bella get back to the dog, kill their bird in their house? And?
Your Honor, the hole that allowed Bella to get into their backyard was primarily dug by their dog over the course of many, many months.
And?
I continued to repair my side of the fence. Their dog continued to dig the hole, destroyed wood that I had put there. The dog got through. In that story, it's sad, but that's not the story that he gave to my wife when he came pounding on my door.
Well, you can't tell me what he said to your wife, sir.
Okay, that's fair, Your Honor. I can tell you what he said to me. I called him.
You can tell me what he said to you.
Instantly?
Just you have to understand, he wasn't home when your dog got into the house. He came home at the end of the episode. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay. Understanding that, you can tell me your version of what he said to you.
What they both said to me. I've had conversations with the both of them since this has happened.
Okay.
The story has changed 2 or 3 times. First, it was she was doing something in the backyard and Bella just came charging in and basically knocked her out of the way, got inside. The first story was, I assumed the entire time that he was home because when he was talking to me over the phone.
I don't care what you assumed. He wasn't home when it started. Your problem, sir, is, first of all, you were aware of to your property?
No, because I fixed my side of it. I take care
so
of
the answer is no.
Correct.
Who do you live in your house with?
My wife and my children.
How old are your children?
I have a 1-year-old. I have a 7-year-old.
Let us say it's their fault that the hole existed that allowed your dog to get out. But you were aware of it because it had happened before that they had to bring your dog back. That a fair statement?
That's fair, yes.
Okay. Let us assume that it was your dog that was responsible for the hole. And their dog, despite the fact that yours was a better digger, you know, having dogs and having a fence, they both dig at the same place. They may not have fixed their side, but they both dig at the same place trying to get to each other. Whose fault do you think it would be if their dog created the major part of the hole, got into your yard, and bit your 1-year-old? Whose fault would that be?
I think it would be equally our faults. I would take responsibility if my child got hurt due to something that I didn't take care of. Absolutely, I would.
Well, you may feel guilty about it, but you would certainly want them to pay all of your child's medical bills.
No, I would not.
Well, then you're a better person than the law is, sir, because your dog was outside of your control, clearly, because it got into their house. It was something that you were aware was a possibility, no matter who dug the hole, so you were aware because it had happened before, and your dog caused damage. And the damage your dog caused, and I'm putting the emotional distress, these 2 young children and the plaintiff, seeing your dog kill this bird that they had been paying off so much per month for a very long time. Putting aside that, they paid $4,300 for this property that your dog destroyed. And that's your fault. You're responsible for that. So if, because of this problem, and your dog has a problem, and their dog has not come onto your property, but your dog comes onto their property, then you have to say, you know what? I'm not letting my dog go out unsupervised because it has created trouble in the past. May have been their fault because they didn't fill in the hole as quickly or as carefully as you did, but you knew that that happened and you're responsible for the damage. It would be no different than if the dog ran inside and as she was trying. And just because it's a poor little bird that happened to be the victim of this doesn't make you any less responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,300. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
I feel like it was justice for Penelope.
When a homeowner doesn't take care of their property and someone lets another dog in their house, they shouldn't be blaming other people for that.
It was extremely difficult to hear my kids screaming like that and do nothing to calm them down.
The judge's ruling is the judge's ruling.
I hope that he never gets another pet again.
I don't think there's gonna ever be a relationship, which is totally fine by me.
One of the most interesting things about that case is I don't think that the defendant's dog, Bella, was a quote-unquote aggressive dog. But I didn't get a hint that the other dog was even aggressive. Even by the fact that the husband was able to walk her back by the scruff of the neck. If that was an aggressive dog, they would just turn right around and give you a nice little snap. So that says to me that although the dog didn't obviously do it on purpose, what are you going to do?
Together.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2141, Hill versus Horton.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Hill.
Yes, sir.
What's this man's name?
Claudius Brown.
You have a child with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's 10 years old?
Yes.
Is that your only child?
No, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
Is he the oldest?
She is the oldest.
She's the oldest?
Yes.
Does she see her father?
No.
Hasn't seen him in how long?
Months to a year.
The defendant has 2 children with him.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
Well, he'll be 2 on the 9th, and then I have a 10-month-old.
And then, according to what I've read here in either the complaint or the answer, he has at least one other child.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is how old?
Probably about 7.
Does he see that child?
Every blue moon when she brings them.
So once in a while?
Yeah.
So he has 4 children altogether?
Yes, ma'am.
And you currently live with him?
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
He works at a warehouse.
And you?
But I'm a certified nurse assistant.
Who takes care of the kids?
Me and Claudius.
You work different shifts?
Yes, he works overnight. I work day shift.
So you're currently working?
Yes, ma'am.
But there came a time, I'm just trying to figure out why everybody's sort of mad and fighting over him. I don't understand it. There must be something that you ladies see that is hidden from me, because it is your claim, Miss Hill, that Miss Horton not only vandalized your car, but that she caused you to be the prize, which I can never really understand. How long have you been working in your current job?
About 3 months now.
So you got another job?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Making about the same money or more?
A little less.
And where are you working?
I'm a machine operator.
So you got another job?
Yes.
Because all this started when all of a sudden you found yourselves working in the same place?
Yes.
And in what month was that?
That was, I started the job May 31st, but it spilled over into June is when everything took place.
And how long were you working at the same place?
3 months. I started March 4th of 2022.
Okay, so it was a short-term employment for both of you. And you were there first?
Yes, ma'am.
And you came shortly thereafter,
yes.
Shortly after she started to work. Had you ever met each other?
No.
Well, explain to me what the problem was.
So there's a history that started back in 2019 via text messages and Facebook. So we've had an ongoing beef for years.
Who cares? Now you're going to both get smarter. You're going to come here today and you're going to both get smarter. And if he has 2 children that he doesn't see, her daughter and your 7-year-old, according to what I hear that you see, well, let's get to the 2 allegations of, 1, that she vandalized your tires. When and what proof do you have that she vandalized your tires? This is after you both found yourself in the same working environment.
It wasn't my tires. She actually keyed my vehicle.
Keyed it?
Yes.
On what date?
On June 18th. And I have my police report from that.
Okay, I'll look at the police report. Did you see her key your car?
I did not see her, but I requested video footage from the job, and they stated that they would give me the video footage.
Do we have it?
We don't have it, but the city attorney was unable to receive it as well. But I have a letter from the city attorney.
You don't have it here for me, and you didn't see her key your car?
Yes.
What we're here for is a trial, so I need what proof you have that she keyed your car. I assume your car was at work?
Yes.
When it was keyed, okay? And I'm assuming that you don't like each other. that things got nasty, heated on social media, back and forth. I'm assuming all that is true. All I need for you to show me is proof that she keyed your car.
Well, I have audio recording from HR where they're stating that everything was initiated by the defendant. And Arkansas is a one-party state, so I can play the audio for you.
Oh, was she on the audio?
They're talking about the video in the recording and that they were supposed to give it to me.
Can't help you. Okay. The next part of your case is that she caused you to lose your job.
Yes.
Go. This is the description of the termination letter and description of the violation. Kiana has been involved in altercations with another employee. While the other employee instigated the situations, it has gotten to a point where multiple other staff are now involved. I don't know what that means. At this point, it is affecting patient care and causing a hostile work environment. Termination effective immediately. I assume that you have a similar letter because you were terminated. May I see it?
Yes.
I also have a final warning.
Just a second. Okay. On Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, Diamond, that's you.
Yes, ma'am.
Was given a final written notice concerning harassment of other employees. It has since been reported that the harassment has continued. Also, multiple other staff have been pulled into this situation to the point that it's affecting patient care, and it's a termination letter. Okay. So I'm assuming since you got this, you were notified previously about having any communication with each other. You were not.
I was out for COVID.
Kiana Hill claims her former co-worker, Diamond Horton, harassed her at work and caused her to be fired. Diamond is countersuing for filing a false restraining order.
My question was a relatively simple one, because I'm going to make this as simple as possible before I probably dismiss both of them. I would like to see, after June 15th, 2022, up until the date of the termination, which is June 23rd, 2022, how the harassment continued. I would like you to show me from June 15th.
The actual date was June 14th.
Well, this says June 15th.
I wasn't working.
Shh.
She
this violation.
To my friends as well. We have the date timestamp.
I just want you to show me after June 15th, between June 15th and June 23rd,
yes, ma'am,
what further acts that you allege are acts of harassment occurred.
I have the schedule showing the date.
Shh. Well, I don't know what this is.
A fake Facebook page that she made.
How do you know this is a fake Facebook page that she made?
That was a requested message that was sent to me after her and myself had a conversation, and she was threatening to beat me up. And it says, since you didn't apologize, D is going to beat you up.
Okay.
The D that they're referring to is Diamond.
Oh, my God. What is this her for? It's 6 o'clock in the evening.
Well, the day she accused me of vandalizing her car is the day that we had worked together. She called the police and her family came up there and they all had guns. That's the reason she got terminated, because she brought a gun on the premises. And they came up there to jump me.
That's a lie.
When I went outside.
I just want to ask you why you called her.
I called her to ask her because the June 16th is when I sat down. I had a conversation together to drop all beef. Like, no issue.
I don't want you. You want to say you can't control yourself. I understand you're sending me a bad message. If you can't control yourself here, which is a very controlled setting, I'm going to say to myself, this is somebody who can't control themselves outside of the setting. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I called her to ask her why did she feel like I vandalized her vehicle, because before that we sat down and we had a conversation together at work saying it should be dead, like why we should not have any beef over him at all, and that the kids were involved. And so we agreed to let it go. So then she accused me of vandalizing her vehicle.
What was the beef about? I don't understand.
The other baby mama is the reason why we're into it.
The 7-year-old's mother?
Yes.
The 7-year-old's mother?
Yes. Yes.
That you filed?
There was an order of protection placed after she was harassing me at work.
May I see it?
Yes. But it was also rescinded.
By the way, does he pay child support for your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
He does. How much?
He pays probably about $239 every 2 weeks, somewhere around
Does he
there.
pay it to you?
Yes. Well, it's through child support.
But he pays it to you?
Yes.
And he's current?
Yes. Well, there's back pay, but he's currently paying.
Okay. So was there a hearing on this order of protection?
It was not.
There was
No,
not.
ma'am,
Did
there
you
was not a hearing.
Just a second. Did you appear?
No, I rescinded it.
I understand that. I just want to know the court found that the petition was dismissed.
It was a false accusation.
Okay. So the reason that the order states it was dismissed is that the petitioner doesn't meet the definition of family or household member as defined in whatever statute is, and therefore does not allege the existence of domestic abuse. Doesn't address the gravamen of the petition. It's a more procedural dismissal because she's not related to you in any way. I mean, having children with a person in common doesn't make you, at least in this jurisdiction, part of the household. Okay, you both look like nice ladies. You know, he has kids with 2 other people. Not a great track record.
He really don't see them because they don't let him. They don't want their kids around me.
There's a reason. You know, maybe not a great track record. It's not good for your children to get older. They may have a curiosity about who their half-sibling is, what they look like, they alike. They may have interest. So all I can suggest to you is your children didn't ask to be born. The idea that you exert any energy whatsoever, negative energy with regard to each other, is ridiculous. Really ridiculous. But for him, you wouldn't have any contact with each other. Am I reading that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, why? He hasn't been in your life in years. And I know that he shouldn't have been in your life at least for the last 7 years because he's got a 7-year-old with somebody else, right? And you have a 10-year-old. Goodbye, except for your daughter. And
could I state that the situation is not about him. It's about the harassment, the lost wages. That's more of my concern with her. It has nothing to do with him.
I was working before you. I was working at a job. You came to my job.
Just a second. What I'm telling you is, right now, and I don't have to get into it any further, right now, she's got the guy.
I don't care.
Just a second. Right now, she's got the guy. So that would perhaps give rise to some animus on your part. With regard to 2 children that she has with him, well, that's his responsibility. You knew about that child, and you knew about the 7-year-old. So what I'm telling you is there's a lot of negative energy going on. You both got jobs relatively soon after this. It was probably not a good idea for you to stay in the same place. And your employer was absolutely right and actually quite brave in today's times to say, we're terminating both of you because your job is affecting patient care. Because it's not only the 2 of you, other employees have been drawn into this drama.
That's because she brought them in.
I don't know whether she brought them in or not, and I don't care whether she brought them in.
And later today.
She wasn't your best friend. She wasn't even a close friend. You hadn't spoken to her in years. So clearly you called